Welcome to VGL 2v2 Season 1. This is Week 6 action. We're watching Game 2 between ElPolloLoco and Crump versus a very desperate bnasty and Diener. Now, bnasty and Diener, of course, losing Game 1 in a failed cannon rush that ended up with them being completely out-macroed. But this game, everything is on the line. It comes down to this. They lose this game, they are not only losers of this match, but they will be eliminated from playoff contention. This is everything on the line. 6 weeks of work come down to one game. And will they be able to pull off an upset victory and send this to a final Game 3, where they will have to repeat and see if they can beat them a second time. But first, they've got to get through this game. And it really comes down to this. Everything on the line. You can feel the tension in the air, and Pollo and Crump, of course, not as much on the line. This is really a padding game to try and get their stats high enough in the hopes that they can squeeze out the second place ranking for first map advantage in the semifinals. But outside of first map advantage, they are really not playing for much here, with the playoffs pretty much guaranteed. We see Diener going for a wall off here. Is a pretty easy ramp to wall off. Discord 4 being chosen by Diener and bnasty since they were the losers of round 1. An interesting choice. However, I can see why they chose it. We've seen a lot of maps picked in this season where it didn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense. It just seemed like people picked maps that they enjoyed or maps that maybe they felt comfortable on, but they didn't really take a lot of strategy into account. One exception, of course, being Dude from Brazil and Cello, the undefeated first place team, which puts a lot of thought into their map selection and tends to pick maps especially for certain opponents. But in this case, Diener and bnasty seem to have chosen an excellent map. Both of their perspective build styles are very one-base friendly. However, Pollo, being a Zerg, will need to expand early to try and keep up, and Crump, of course, will need to expand eventually. And this is not a very expansion-friendly map. It does have one expansion that's somewhat decent to defend, but the other expansions are very far away, and it makes it a little bit difficult here. You see a little bit of laughter from Pollo, most likely a little bit of friendly banter going on there back and forth with the scouts. And we do see pretty much some droning up going on here. 2 gateways coming down from bnasty, usually indicative of Zealot rushing. We'll have to see if they do Zealot rush and with Marines as backup. We have seen them do that before in the season with mixed success, so usually it could have been more effective, but sometimes they get a little indecisive in their targets. This should make it a lot easier on Discord 4 since this one expansion will be very accessible here. Of course, an early expansion coming down from Pollo. This expansion, of course, not visible yet to Diener and bnasty. They are unaware that expansion has taken place. So we'll have to see if they continue their improved scouting from last game and follow it up with some more aggressive play. Crump opting not to wall off. A very interesting choice there, going with a more open attack pattern here. You also see an Overlord with Pollo, great positioning here. Should move it maybe a little closer to the edge just so we can get eyes on this ramp a little bit. But nevertheless, good positioning. And the Xel'Naga's on this map so important. We see Diener with one and Pollo with the other, just kind of spying on each other there. They can't really see each other, but it kind of creates this whole like I on one half, you on the other half. Of course, this Zergling is going to put an end to that, and now Pollo is in control of both. We also see a Zergling put right outside the natural expansion to kind of keep an eye on things, and here comes the rush. We see a bunch of Zealots and Marines rolling out. He wants to close this door. Diener, please tell me you did not forget to close this door, and we'll have to see if he forgets to close the door or not. That has been a mistake we have seen several teams make with these rollouts. Hopefully they get it under control. See bnasty cleverly sending a single Zealot out to take out any eyes, so they do not see this attack coming. Now, the key to this is to stay focused on a single attacker, on a single target, and to keep the Zealots in front of the Marines. You want the Zealots to be the meat shield to the Marines. And Diener also wants to keep these Marines as closely balled as possible to focus their fire and to make them as potent and to prevent any kind of surrounds. So they will be met, looks like, by this cannon first and foremost. This cannon, of course, locking onto a Zealot will help. They may only lose maybe one Zealot there. And it looks like they will go ahead and roll in. They will completely ignore that expansion there and that queen. They take out that cannon. These Zealots are going to make quick work of those Zerglings, and they're going to immediately go to work on Crump's gateway. and try to prevent him from getting any kind of units here. This is starting to look a little scary for Crump and Pollo, as this buildup here of units is definitely more than what they have. We take a look at the unit tab here, and you'll see Crump has literally no units right now. We only have 7 larvae with 16 lings for Pollo. This is going to be a very tough build for him, and cleverly Diener and bnasty are choosing to go after Crump, which is an excellent choice considering that he has less units here. And we do see some Zerglings now rolling in here. They will get some decent surround on those Marines, however they were chased away. And we do see some more reinforcements coming in as well, a handful of Marines and Zealots coming in. And this is going to be very bad for Crump's economy. Wow, he managed to trap half of those probes in there. He puts them to work. These Zerglings not able to get a good surround, but good enough to be able to whittle this down. But Pollo's going to lose a little bit too many Zerglings there. Meanwhile, we do see a second batch of attackers coming in here. A handful of Zealots and Marines. They will easily take down those two defenses, and they're going to try to whittle down the rest of these Zerglings here. It's going to be very tough, though. We also see 2 Roaches out now. Those Roaches definitely going to be a good counter to this attack, but wow. This has to be probably the most successful early attack we've seen from Diener and bnasty in the last few games. You know, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be much more successful than what they've been so far. They've definitely done a good job at least delaying this expansion saturation. They've whittled down Crump's workers here. We see Crump down to 15 workers only. And we also see Pollo having to pull back a little bit, but now he is going to go ahead and start saturating this expansion here. So this is now Pollo's going to have to pick up the slack from this attack and try to not only change his build, he's going to have to go Roaches now, but he's going to need to change up his strategy here to be a little bit more defensive. Pollo, of course, loves to be the jack of all trades when it comes to harassment. Loves to transition into many builds, loves to build lots of different types of tech. Now he's on defense. This is a totally different game for him. He's not used to this at all. We also see Banshees underway from Diener. It looks like they're pretty much continuing the build from last game. We see Cloak coming down as well. We see some Marauders in place of a Thor. And we do see a nice buildup here of Zealots and Marines. And it looks like they're going to keep the pressure on them. This is an excellent strategy for bnasty and Diener. They thrive on the early attack. They thrive on being able to do harassment. So we do see a little bit of a scout there trying to see what they have. Not sure if they saw this expansion here. They did see this expansion. So they are aware that an expansion has taken place. So that should make them feel probably a little bit better, because they're going to most likely assume that they're going to sit back and just try to like expand a little bit. So that may give Crump a little bit of ease here, because he can, you know, focus a little bit more on the macro. He's still in the process of catching up. He's very close though to catching up to bnasty in economy at least. But we're going back to this initial strategy that we've seen them do here. This initial rush was an excellent choice from them. And really, we've seen them do it before with less success. The one difference here is that they stayed focused on a single attack pattern. They didn't try to attack everything. They said, okay, we hurt Crump a little bit at the entrance. Let's go to his base and let's mess up his probes a little bit. And the unit trade-off was pretty beneficial. It slowed Crump down enough, forcing Pollo into a defensive pattern. And we now have some Banshees as well on the map. These Banshees, of course, we do not believe have been scouted. Let's go ahead and take a look there. No, they have. There is no scouting on the main base whatsoever. They've delayed the scouting by being able to just kind of, you know, hold back. Now, Pollo does have eyes right here. It looks like they're going to skirt right around this Overlord and completely bypass it. And it looks like this Overlord is not going to see this coming. So unfortunately, Crump is just the unlucky guy. As Kid would say, sometimes your job is to die slowly, and Crump, it looks like he's going to have to die very slowly here. We do see those Banshees on the way to his base, and really what bnasty and Diener need to do at this point is not wait too long to try and attack. They need to try and attack as quickly as possible and try to take advantage, not let Crump bounce back from this early economy harassment here. We do see them skirting around with these Banshees, trying to get some harassment from Diener, and Cloak's perfect timing just as Crump arrives. He is not going to be able to do anything about that. Crump, of course, not even with Warp Gate tech at this point, really needs to do something. We see Pollo, unfortunately, with no anti-air at his disposal with a bunch of Roaches, is going to try to 2-on-1 this. This is a very bad choice. He, of course, is not aware at the full extent of this army, but either way, he knows it's going to be a 2v1 situation. This is not good at all. We see these Banshees kind of being cleaned up now as they're trying to get some harassment in, but there's just way too much detection in this base. So they are able to get kicked out. They did very minor damage, but the biggest advantage here was that they were able to deny this expansion from Crump, keep him on one base. And we see these roaches now rolling in here. Looks like they're going to try to snipe this. But unfortunately, there's way too many defensive units here. You see Pollo easily scampering away with that roach speed. You know, take note, Mord. Roach speed. You know, so we do see bnasty and Diener here holding a defensive position. Probably not a good idea at this point because you do not want to sit for too long. You want to try to, always want to play to your advantage. And right now your advantage is you've slowed down Crump, you've prevented him from expanding. You've got basically a 1.5 person team on the other side. Meanwhile, you and your partner have maintained, you know, pretty good security on your base here. You know, they haven't scouted too much. We see a little bit of the outskirts here have been scouted. You know, but you've got the advantage here. You've got the army advantage, definitely. So take advantage of that. Continue pushing. Continue attacking. Don't give up your game. And we see them rolling out here. Of course, Crump will spy this coming in here. And we also see a little bit of denial here from Pollo. And this enormous army is going to go ahead and roll in here. We do not know where it's going. Crump, of course, attempting to expand once again. He will be safe for the meantime. But this enormous army rolling in here is going to hit creep very, very soon, and this is not looking good at all. This is going to wedge in all of these Hydralisks and Roaches unless he's able to get them around to the side. It looks like he will take out that... He looks like he's going to take out Vision first and attempt to rush in. We do see a little bit of surround coming here from these Zerglings, but it's not going to be enough, and those Zerglings did not engage with the whole army. And unfortunately, they are too bottled up here. This is not good at all. Way too much bottling up. You need to split this army and try to hit them from two sides. But you're getting all your units stuck here in the bottleneck. Half of them aren't even engaging. They've successfully used this bottleneck to split Pollo and Crump's army. This could be the push that they're looking for. You see bnasty and Diener really rolling in here, able to kind of like look at all these units scampering for some range. And they're basically turning this into a 2v1, but it looks like they may be able to hold off this army just long enough. It looks like it may be an army trade altogether. This is coming down to the wire here. These Marauders really going to have to earn their money worth. And it looks like they will barely hold off this attack here. Should have been a little bit easier if they could have gotten a better surround. They allowed themselves to get wedged in here a little bit too much. We do see some more Hydras and Roaches coming out. On production tab, we don't see much else being built at this point. You know, this is going to be a very interesting game here. We do see some High Templars in action here. Very unusual for bnasty to use High Templars. It's going to be very interesting to see what his choices are with the merging. It looks like he will go for Archons. Archons, of course, excellent against any grouped bio, and also very good against air. We have not seen a lot of transition here from Pollo. Pollo is not really playing his game at this point. Now, by now, we would usually see him with a third base, and at least on Tech 3, or at the very minimum some Tech 2. He hasn't even built a Spire. So the early attack really forcing Pollo into a defensive posture here. Crump's inability to expand up until just now really hindering his ability as well. We do see some Roaches and yeah, some very upgraded Roaches kind of going out here, most likely looking to take Xel'Nagas and just kind of scout around. They're not going to want to go too far. Crump, of course, with an excellent position on this observer. And do you see bnasty now finally saturating that expansion? Diener as well going for an additional expansion. Not sure exactly where he's going to send that. Do you see another huge ball rolling out here with many more medevacs this time. We do see the 1-2 step here from the Roaches. They will come in for this expansion and attempt to take this out. It looks like Diener and bnasty are going to let them have that expansion. They're going to roll in this main army. Pollo finally going for a third as well. It'll be interesting to see if they find that. We do see some more Zealots warping in here. But really, these Zealots are not going to be able to do anything. He needs to try and just kind of accrue them up over here out of the way. You do see him evacuating these workers. He will most likely lose that Nexus. Unfortunately, Pollo is about to lose a hatchery of his own. We do see them just kind of waiting, most likely, for this to pop here, and then they will roll in. Actually, I'm not even sure if they see it. Yes, they do see it, so they are just waiting for it to most likely finish. And they're going to go ahead and roll in here, and this is when Pollo is going to realize something bad is happening here. He needs to unburrow these Roaches. They're just way too slow in burrowed form. It looks like he is expansion hunting, but at this point, he's going to need to go back on base defense because this handful of units over here, and they're going to face the same wedge problem again. You know, they need to try and engage these guys as they're coming down this ramp. Oh, we see we see the Storm coming down. Unbelievable. bnasty using Storm here, taking a page out of his brother's playbook. Kid, of course, known for the Storm, and he's going to, unfortunately, you can tell a little bit of a lack of practice there, hurt some of his own units. We see them kind of rolling in here. These medevacs are going to be a huge difference maker. These medevacs really going to sway this. Technically, Crump and Pollo have a slightly larger army, but these medevacs definitely doing a huge help here, keeping these units alive. This Archon in the back not even able to get any traction at all. This is some heavily damaged units here from Crump and Pollo. The army is a little bit shaken here as they run away. Pollo pulling back these roaches, though. He is going to be met by a huge army of marauders, which should make very quick work of these roaches, especially with medevacs. And Pollo, of course, burrowing those roaches to try and heal them up and save them from the rest of Crump and Pollo's army being taken out. Those roaches look like they are going to try to escape and try to do some damage on expansions. Diener taking that expansion in the name of his teammate. And we do see some more roach and Hydra rolling out here, backed up by a little bit of Crump Stalker and Immortal Ball. And this is some very good back and forth. We see a lot of action going on here, but a lot of back and forth. Take a look at the economy tab. We're pretty much dead even across the board here. Only exception, of course, being bnasty, who has lost his expansion and is unable to really mine anything at this point, as he has basically mined out his main. This is heartbreaking considering how well this was going early on. You know, Diener and bnasty need to find a way, and you see another expansion going down from the Zergling harass. This is starting to look very, very bad. And we see storms coming in. A single High Templar dropping a storm, trying to help out. Diener desperately using workers now at this point to try and attack here. You do see these marauders, though, putting some pain down on these roaches. This is not looking good at all for this army here, as these medevacs are really swaying the battle here. You know, of course, these workers do it, causing a little bit of distraction and meat shield, but these medevacs saving the day, basically supercharging those marauders and allowing them to withstand those superior forces. And of course, a High Templar for good measure. These Archons are going to do a great job fending off these Zerglings here. And this could be another nice push. We basically, this entire game has just been pushes, back and forth pushes. See Crump going down for third base as well. If they're able to hold off this army and get those expansions up, they should easily be able to take care of Diener and bnasty and send them home from the season. But unfortunately, this army is starting to get a little out of control here. These medevacs are the problem, though, and without a Spire from Pollo. And again, that Spire not being built, mainly because he seems to be in a defensive posture the entire game. And with a lack of Spire and running out of minerals on his main, he's basically coming down to one base. This is not good at all. Pollo has been the main aggressor here, and you know, without anything to take out these medevacs, he's really in trouble here. These medevacs basically supercharging, allowing permanent stim on these marauders. And these marauders are just going to melt everything in their path until, you know, a superior force is able to surround them. These Zerglings, of course, not going to be much of a match for medevac marauders. And, you know, this is really the only Hentai they have, being taken out by a single marauder here. And we see some DTs rolling in. These DTs will be exactly what they need, as they do not have any detection. However, we do see a nice, well-placed scan. Unfortunately, he scanned as he evac'd his units, so there is nothing left to attack those. Pollo putting down a very much needed third expansion here, as he is starting to dwindle in his resource count. We see him down to 360 on minerals alone. We do see a little bit of an evac here from Diener as some Zerglings rush in to try and do some damage. Diener, of course, with a planetary fortress, he will easily fend off those Zerglings, and his other expansion just barely being mined here. He does have plenty of energy, though, and there we see some more workers coming in from a mined out main. We would like to see him airlift this, maybe put it over here, try to get some extra resources, and especially since basically bnasty is just working for tips here. He has absolutely nothing. He is remote mining out of desperation. So, you know, at this point, it's hard to say where the advantage lies. Right now, I would say from a unit standpoint, Diener is really holding his own. These medevacs doing an excellent job keeping these marauders alive. However, these marauders have no ability to attack the air, and without any kind of air attacks from Pollo, without his usual Spire at this point in the game, he really has nothing to fight those medevacs and nothing to fight those marauders with. And these Zerglings are a really bad choice against marauders with medevacs. They will be able to tank those Zerglings long enough to fight them off. And you know, right now it's just poor unit choices from Pollo. I mean, he has, if you take a look at resources here, you know, Pollo has a ridiculous amount of gas, so he could easily transition into corruptors, brood lords. I mean, anything. He just needs to get the tech down. but it looks like he is just not willing to invest in the tech right now. See more roaches coming down. Again, roaches, you might as well just hand them over to this Marauder force. Those roaches are going to do nothing to defend those Marauders. See more remote mining from bnasty. He tries to get back in this. This is basically the Diener show. Diener rolling in here, single-handedly taking out everything. Scans going down just in case there's any DTs in the way. And at this point, there is nothing to stop this Marauder army. It is an incredible oversight on Pollo's part to not build any kind of air to try and take this out. Literally a handful of Butos will be able to take out this entire army, starting with the medevacs. And at this point, Diener is going to just go uncontested here and just take down everything that he can. You see a little bit of an Immortal here trying to do something, but it's just not going to be enough. And we see Crump with a ton of resources here, and you know, just nothing. Just nothing he can build at this point. He needs to get a large enough army. There go the Roach tech from Pollo. Pollo's going to lose that. You know, at this point, Pollo is going to lose his main and all the tech that's in it. This is not looking good for him at all. It's going to reduce him to basically nothing. He's not going to be able to build anything until he builds something else up. You see these robotics facilities now going down as the Marauders turn their focus to Crump, who at this point is doing better than Pollo, even though he was crippled early on. He needs to go for that DT, take down that Dark Shrine, and that eliminates most of the tech for Crump. This is an excellent choice of buildings here. This is basically what we've been hoping to see from Diener and bnasty all this time. Just incredible play, incredible target selection, great prioritization, and they're just steamrolling at this point. Diener just single-handedly taking down two of the most feared players in this league, and you have to wonder where this has come from. Do they just play better with desperation? Do they play better under the pressure of elimination? Because at this point, Diener, I don't even know who this man is anymore. He might as well have just transformed into a professional player. He might be part Korean for all I know, because he has just single-handedly decimated the tech of the enemy team here, and going for yet another expansion from bnasty. I think at this point he may have just been blocking out all teammate. He's just expanding everywhere. It's like he's playing by himself. But you know what? It's working here. Because this Marauder army of his, granted, definitely took for granted the fact there was nothing anti-air, nothing air-based to take them out, has literally wiped the floor with two of the best players in this league. And it's just just unbelievable at this point what is happening. See Pollo scrambling for a spawning pool. He has lost his other expansion here from another Diener Marauder ball that just rolled in simultaneously. And this is just looking very bad here. Pollo is almost out of this game. He is down to his last base. We see Crump attempting to fortify with cannons, trying to rebuild gateways desperately. He does have plenty of money to try and build an army here. He just needs time. And hopefully, it's now Pollo's turn to try and die slowly and fend off what's left of this army here, in the hopes that that Crump can get a big enough army to try and fight. It's essentially a one-on-one here, but look at this massive Marauder army here with medevacs to boot. To back up this army here. It's just unbelievable, the unit count. We take a look at the units here. We have 51 Marauders and 12 medevacs. That is, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. That is just going to be extremely difficult for anything Protoss to counter at this point. These gateways are just transforming into warp gates now. It's going to be incredibly difficult for them to bounce back. We see Pollo building another base off in the distance here, trying to get back into this. But outside of Overlords, he really has nothing left. And we see these Marauders getting ready to completely steamroll. We see the other main army rolling out from the main base. And they have done an excellent job. Diener, really MVP of this game, has completely turned this around. That early attack was extremely effective. Towards the middle of the game, we saw, you know, favor kind of swing back in favor of Pollo and Crump, but this enormous Marauder army and these medevacs were just the right equation, or the right solution, I should say, to this equation. And they're going to roll in here ceremoniously and just decimate and completely obliterate everything Crump has been hoarding, and just end this game. This should be the game for them. And Diener, unbelievable. Pay that man his money. That he has just completely come through for this team. He has saved their season with this gameplay here. Pollo leaves the game, albeit probably a little bit frustrated, and hoping that he had built some air sooner. Crump leaves the game as well, handing the victory to Diener and bnasty. Unbelievable. A season-winning game here. They have extended their life to at least one more game, as this will take it to Game 3, where Pollo and Crump will try to send home a very pesky Diener and bnasty. And Diener and bnasty, of course, will try to basically do a miracle twice and see if they can cause a second upset and extend themselves into a possible playoff berth. We'll have to see how this exciting series plays out.